Since 2022, Canada has officially started losing more than 100,000 people per year, and in years like 2025, that number crossed 120,000. And when I say more than 100,000, I'm talking about Canadian citizens and permanent residents, not people with temporary visas. And to add insult to injury, the people walking out the door are mostly between 20 and 44 years old. So this is not the retirees, but actually the current and future workforce of the nation that is leaving at record levels. I'm talking about 100,000 entrepreneurs, doctors, plumbers, software engineers, dentists, and many more. And so the obvious question that should be on anyone's mind is, why are they leaving in the first place? In this video, we will answer this question by ranking the 5 biggest reasons reported by actual Canadians expats on why they left the country in the first place. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Coming in at number 5 is the harsh Canadian climate. And this is the main reason for about 10% of expats. Here's something you must understand if you're not Canadian. There's cold, and then there's Canadian cold. These two are definitely not the same thing. Let me explain. When people think of famously cold cities in Europe, for example, they think of places like London or Paris. And when they think of America, they might think of New York City. Now compare these cities to the biggest city of Canada, which is Toronto, and you'll understand what I mean. In London and Paris, for instance, you'll almost never experience temperatures below -10 Celsius or below 14 degrees Fahrenheit. In New York City, you might experience it 1 to 3 times per year, but in Toronto, you can expect more than 30 times per year. That's literally a whole month. And we're not even talking about Montreal, Ottawa, or Winnipeg, which go even harder. And it's not just the temperature, it's the wind chill, the ice, the power outrage, the car failing, the icy roads, the gray skies that stick around for 5 months straight, the fact that it gets dark at like 4 p.m. in December, and I can carry on all day. Despite all the stressing factors I just mentioned, this is only the 5th reason. At number 4, we have the high taxes for high earners. Canada has a progressive tax system, which could sound fair in theory because the more you make, the more you contribute. But once you cross into 6-figure territory, the math starts to sting a lot. If you're earning 100,000 Canadian dollars or more, you're looking at a combined federal and provincial income tax rate of at least 40% pretty much anywhere you go. Depending on which province you live in, like let's say in Quebec, that rate can creep close to 53 or 54%. So roughly half of every dollar you earn above a certain threshold goes to the government. Not only that, but often, the frustration isn't really the taxes themselves, but the perceived value instead. Because just across the border, the same jobs in the US often pays 30 to 50% more in raw salary, but the government takes less of your income as well. So you're not only making more, but also keeping more. That's a combination that's very hard to argue with, especially for people in tech, finance, medicine, or engineering. And this is where Canada's future is starting to evaporate. Canada in itself has world-class universities producing world-class graduates every year. But currently, an increasing amount of those world-class graduates are moving south because of what we just mentioned. And speaking of increasing the money you have in your pockets, if you want to increase your savings because you want to leave your country or any other reason, I suggest you consider budget planners. These books help you track your income and expenses and figure out where you can save extra money every month to reach your personal objectives, whether it is investing, vacations, paying debt faster, or just save more. In the video description, you'll find links to order one for yourself on Amazon. Using these links would directly support the channel as well. Now let's move to the 3rd biggest reason, which is the bad healthcare system. A quite considerable 15% of expats explain that this is the main reason of their departure. And this can be quite surprising since Canada is reputed and well known for having a universal healthcare system in the first place. In case you didn't know, in Canada, if you walk into a hospital, you're supposed to get treated and then you can walk out without a bill. That's the idea, and something Americans can only dream of. And the reason is simple. The healthcare system is almost 100% funded through taxes. And this is one of the main reasons Canadians pay more taxes on their income and on almost anything they buy, especially when you compare them to their southern neighbors. The problem now, though, is that the Canadian wait times are literally brutal. Unless you're bleeding to death on your way to the emergency room, you can say goodbye to being treated the same day that you go to the hospital nowadays. To give you an idea, the median wait to see a specialist in Canada, not an emergency, just a regular referral to a specialist, is around 27 to 30 weeks. That's roughly 7 months. To put that in perspective, the UK, which also has a public healthcare system and gets criticized all the time for its wait times, averages around 18 to 20 weeks at the time of this video. On the other side of the world, Australia is around 8 weeks. The United States is about 3 weeks, and Germany is around 2 weeks. So yes, Canada is last, and by a lot. And it's not just specialists. Finding a family doctor in Canada has become almost impossible. As of recent years, over 6 million Canadians don't have a family physician. They rely on walk-in clinics or emergency rooms for basic care. The system is underfunded, understaffed, and stretched thin. So basically, you pay thousands in taxes every month, simply to be forced to wait 7 months to know if your chronic stomach pain is a cancer or not. But let's move to an even bigger reason why Canadians are leaving en masse. At number 2, for about 25% of expats, is the fact they simply found better career opportunities elsewhere. This one isn't about Canada being a bad place to work. Canada actually has pretty strong industries, good labor protections, and a decent work culture, though many people under 30 can't find a job nowadays. But when you start comparing salary packages internationally, Canada consistently comes up short. The most popular destination is by far the United States, and the gap is significant. For most professional roles like tech, finance, marketing, law, or healthcare, American salaries run 30 to 50% higher than their Canadian equivalents. And because the US dollar is worth more than the Canadian dollar, the gap in real purchasing power is even wider than the raw numbers suggest. But it's not just the US. Switzerland is another popular destination, which regularly offers salaries 40 to 60% above Canadian levels for skilled workers. And while the cost of living there is high, the tax treatment for many professionals is more favorable to compensate. Another surprising place is Luxembourg. The country pays on average between 20 to 35% more for comparable roles, with an income tax structure that isn't dramatically worse than Canada's. And because I don't want to lose you by listing every country, I'll only mention Dubai next, which is a city in the UAE. This is especially true for people in finance and tech, because salaries are roughly comparable to Canada, but there's zero income tax, something you'll never see or hear from anywhere in Canada. This simple tax break gives you an extra 40 to 50% back in your pockets if you're a higher earner. But finally, let's talk about the number one reason, the cost of living, and more specifically, housing. This one accounts for about 40% of expats. Canada's housing crisis isn't new, but the scale of it compared to peer nations is genuinely alarming once you see the data laid out. One of the cleanest ways to measure housing affordability is the house price to income ratio, meaning how many years of your gross salary it would take to buy an average home. In Canada, that ratio sits at around 9.1. That means the average Canadian would need about 9 full years of their entire pre-tax income just to buy an average home. Let me compare that to the other nations we mentioned earlier so you see the difference. Currently, the UAE sits at around 5 times, the US sits at around 5.3 times, Germany sits at about 7.7 times, the UK sits at roughly 8 times, and Australia sits at around 8.4 times. So yes, Canada is the worst on this list, and worse than most wealthy nations in general. And for people who aren't buying, meaning the renters, the situation isn't much better. In cities like Toronto and Vancouver, average rents for a one-bedroom apartment have climbed to levels that consume 40, 50, sometimes over 60% of someone's monthly income after taxes. When that much of your paycheck disappears before you've bought groceries or paid for transit, building any kind of financial foundation becomes nearly impossible. And unlike homeowners who at least benefit from appreciation, renters are absorbing rising costs with no asset to show for it. High rent plus high inflation plus stagnant wage growth in a high-tax environment, that's a combination that definitely makes you look elsewhere, and that's why housing causes the most exits. The good thing in this list is that nobody is leaving because Canada isn't clean or safe, but because many think the government has failed the people. So what do you think? Are these reasons valid? Comment your thoughts below and give it a like if you enjoyed it. In the meantime, if you want to see similar content, click on one of the videos showing on your screen right now. I'll see you on the next one.